We're on the exam 3 review for college algebra. So we're looking at number 1, inequalities. So for the first problem, we just have a nice linear inequality. We're going to solve this exactly like we would a linear equation. We're going to start by distributing the negative 4. So we get 6 minus 4x plus 12 less than or equal to 0. I can go ahead and put those similar terms together. I get negative 4x plus 18 less than or equal to 0. I'm trying to get x by itself. For an inequality, I want to keep the x's on the left. So I get negative 4x is less than or equal to negative 18. So when I get down to my last step, remember if you divide or multiply by a negative, you do have to flip your sign. So this is going to become x greater than or equal to, these negatives are going to cancel, and I'm going to get 9 over 2. Now we're asked to graph this and write it in interval notation. So for the graph, all I need is the 9/2. Okay, I can do either a bracket or a closed circle, whichever you like best. And it's greater than, so I'm going to shade to the right. Now when I put that in interval notation, my left endpoint is 9/2, and I do reach that, so I put it in a bracket. It keeps going forever to the right, so it goes towards positive infinity. And we always put a parenthesis around our infinities because we never quite reach them. All right, so for B, I've got another inequality, but I'd really like to get rid of those fractions. So if I look at my common denominator for 3, 2, and 4, that would be 12. So I'm going to multiply each term by 12. All right, so 3 goes into 12 4 times. So be careful with this. I'm going to do 4 times x minus 2. I want to leave those parentheses. 2 goes into 12 6 times, so minus 6 parentheses x plus 2. That is greater than 4 goes into 12 3 times, so 3 times 1 is 3. All right, so now I want to go back and distribute my 4 and distribute my negative 6. If you try to distribute and clear fractions in the same step, you will generally forget to distribute the negative. So you want to make sure that you have a minus on that 12 right there. All right, if I put my similar terms together, I have a negative 2x and then a minus 20 greater than 3. I get negative 2x is greater than 23. Once again, I am dividing by a negative, so remember when I divide by a negative, I switch my inequality, so now it's less than, and that's not a really pretty number, so just less than negative 23 over 2. So on a number line, just put negative 23 over 2. I'm not reaching that endpoint, so either an open circle or a parenthesis. It is less than, so I'm shading to the left. In interval notation, on the left-hand side, I'm going towards negative infinity. On the right-hand side, I get to negative 23 over 12. It is an open circle, so I use a parenthesis there. All right, now for C, this is a compound inequality, but notice the only place I see an x is right there in the middle, so I'm going to keep these together. I'm going to think of this as kind of a 3-sided equation. So I'm going to try to get x by itself in the middle. So if I minus 3 to each part, I get negative 7. In the middle, I get negative 2x. And then I get a negative 2. All right, so my last step, I'm going to divide everything by negative 2. Once again, I'm dividing by a negative, so that's going to flip my signs. So I get 7 over 2 greater than x, greater than or equal to 1. Oh, did I write that backwards? I didn't flip my signs. Let me go back and do that. I said I was going to do it, and then I didn't do it. All right, so since I divided by a negative, that should be a greater than and a greater than or equal to. This is not the way we normally write this, so I'm going to flip this over. Think of this as like taking a spatula and flipping the whole thing. All right, so notice on my inequalities, the little n points towards the 1. So over here, the little n still points towards the 1. On this one, the little n points towards the x. So here it still has to point towards the x. So what that tells me is that I want all the numbers between, hold on, I put an equal there and it's not there. Let me fix that. Or wait, actually there is one there, but there's not one here. All right, so I want everything between 1 and 7/2. It does look like I'm including this one. So let's see if I follow that down. That's going to be right here. So I want a closed circle on the 1, an open circle on the 7/2, and then I'll shade in between. So in interval notation, that will be a bracket 1 and then a parenthesis on the 7/2. All right, so let's look at D. This will be the last one for this video. So if I go up to D, it's also a compound inequality, but I have x's everywhere. So what I'm going to have to do on this one is I'm going to have to split it. So I'm going to start with taking just these two. I'm going to do 2 plus x less than or equal to 4x minus 1. All right, I'm going to put a nice line here to separate. I'm going to go ahead and solve that. I'm going to put the x's on the left because it makes it easier to read. So I have 2 minus 3x less than or equal to negative 1. I get negative 3x less than or equal to negative 3. When I divide by negative 3, I get x greater than or equal to 1. So I do have to flip that symbol when I divide by the negative. All right, so now I'm going to go back. Let me switch colors here. And I'm going to take the middle again, and I'm going to take these two. So this will be 4x minus 1 less than 2x plus 7. So I'm going to put all my x's on the left. So 2x minus 1 less than 7. I get 2x less than 8. I get x less than 4. So I need a combination of these. So I want numbers that are less than 4, but at the same time greater than or equal to 1. So if you think about that on a number line, I'll make it really small. I've got a 1 here and a 4 here. So I want to be less than 4, but at the same time bigger than 1. So I'm going to be trapped in between the 1 and the 4. So I want everything, including the 1, up to the 4, but not including the 4.